see what the feed looks like. But because we have Wednesday night boxing here in Sydney, Australia, and we have a card in the UK, we have the Hollywood Fight Night in America with Serhii Bohacek. So there's a lot of boxing this week. Having this card midweek, I'm going to do my picks of the week just for the Australia card. And I'll tell you three separate. We're going to do our whole money line sort of thing like we always do. I'll pick every single winner or loser, and then I'll give you my locks of the fight card and then my prop bet of the fight card. So we're looking to make some money here. What's up, Crispy Chris? Yo, if you would have been following the channel last week and the week before, last week we hit a 14-leg parlay with 3 different cards. We also hit a 7. So in this little short live, we're going to be going over the Sam Goodman versus Cesar Vaca fight card Wednesday night here in Sydney, Australia. Wherever you're tuning in at, it is Tuesday morning for me. It's 8:30 in the morning on Tuesday. So wherever you are in the world, I say what's up. Also, guys, like this video. As we do these lives more and more, you guys tuning in, asking me questions, me telling you how to make money. All I ask for you is to like it, and then it'll push the video up in YouTube's algorithm. So like I said, the fight card is headlined by Sam Goodman versus Cesar Vaca. I just uploaded on the channel my breakdown, analysis, and prediction of Goodman versus Vaka. You could call it a film study. I tell you guys all about who both guys are. But this live, we're going to go over how we're going to make some money on this Detroit, Michigan. Crispy Chris. I grew up in Youngstown, Ohio. So I know all about the D. We just covered Ardrell Holmes. You know, he didn't get the victory against Erickson Lubin, but he fights out of Detroit. Clarissa Shields. Detroit Kronk Boxing. Come on now. One of the most famous fight towns. Detroit is due for some new studs, too. So I'm always cheering for Detroit. Shout out to my boy Ohio Runs Boxing. He puts me onto all the Detroit boxers. All right, guys. So if you guys are into betting and gambling, I don't know what app you guys use in America, but down here in Australia, it's called Sports Bet. And I don't even know if you guys are offered these fights. So that's something, wherever you're tuning in at, let me know. Like, are you guys even able to bet on the Australian boxing fights going on tomorrow night? If you can, there's a 13-to-1 parlay that I'm going to tell you about. There's a 2-to-1 parlay that a lot of guys who watch the show like going heavy on. And then there's a 5-to-1 prop bet that I'm comfortable with. Now, I've done lives with a pro bettor named Muscle Brown before, and he likes going heavy. Like he'll like the 2-to-1 parlay. He'll put 50,000 2-to-1 to win 100K, 50 plus his money back. So that's why I've segmented the bets into the long parlay 9-leg, a 2-to-1, and then a prop. Shout out to the O and salute to you. Keep it. Thanks, Crispy. All right, I'm just gonna get this thing started. So the 9-leg parlay, I'm just going to go through all the fights, guys. Ask questions as they come up. There's a lot going on this week in boxing, both in America, both in the UK. We still have to decide. We're still waiting on the California Commission, what they're going to do with Emmanuel Navarrete and Charlie Suarez. We know how that fight ended. We covered it yesterday all last week. I know the Filipino fans and Suarez wants that changed to an... I heard it's going to be changed to a no contest. Now, that's supposed to happen in the next 24 hours. The Filipino fans aren't happy with that. They want it reversed to a TKO, considering that there's footage that it was a glove punch instead of the headbutt. But the referee on the spot, we know how that ended up, called it from a headbutt. And then when the fight got stopped, they went to the cards. Suarez wasn't winning that fight, by the way. Navarrete was winning that fight. Suarez's best moments happened once he saw blood, and we know that tends to happen. I just think it should be a rematch. I think, you know, Navarrete takes the 2 months to heal. He's suspended for 2 months. That should be an immediate rematch. What a fun fight. Both guys gave it their all. My favorite millionaire. All right, guys, like this video. We're going to start with the first fight. Let me know, though, wherever you're tuning in, if you're able to bet on these fights, because I'm interested. These are just Australia Wednesday night. And there's a lot of young fighters in Australia I always talk about. Because it's kind of a floating island and we're so isolated, it's very rare that you see a guy come out of Australia with an undefeated record by the time they make it to the international scene, because they're fighting everybody in their town. You know what I mean? You get guys like Goodman, who's undefeated, and by the time Tim Tszyu made it to the U.S., he was undefeated. But a lot of these guys that I've been watching the last few years, they're tough as nails. They might have 1 or 2 losses, but they could mix it up with anyone. So the first fight on our parlay, this is a 9-leg parlay. If we hit all 9, it's going to pay 13-1. Last week we hit all 14, and that paid 15-1. So you never know. Let's keep up the momentum. I'm taking Daringa Trehala. Trewala is $1.07, and I'm gonna put this up in the community section. I'll just be brief. Trewala at $1.07, Adams at $1.06, Charles Cassie at $1.22, Jasmine Parr, the daughter of John Wayne Parr, she's at $1.06, Jason Fawcett at $2.25. There's the Australian heavyweight title fight between Stephen Ivic and Tuesi Visotu. I'm taking Visotu. He's a slight dog, $1.70. He's a slight favorite, $1.72. Wade Ryan versus Fati. That's a close fight. Wade Ryan's the veteran there, 35 years old. Rangy southpaw. He's at $1.77. Garside, the Olympian, $1.06, and then Sam Goodman, $1.25. You put all 9, that pays 13-1. You put $10 on that, $130. So that's what I did. Last week I put $100 on the 14-leg parlay. It paid 15-1, so it paid out great. But you don't always have to go. You put $10, just have fun. I don't know anybody here is gambling to get rich. Now I do have some locks. Now because the odds are, you put together some 107s and 106s. If you take Trehala at 106, Adams 106, Kazi at 122, Parr at 106, and then Garside at 106 and Goodman at 125, that pays 2-1. So it's a 6-leg. There is some risk there. Goodman, if you feel that Cesar Vaca is going to come down here and upset Sam Goodman, don't do it. But those 6, the riskiest odds of that is the $1.25 at Goodman. That pays 2-1. But I'm going to be controversial. I think Goodman's going to get a stoppage. I think he's going to stop Cesar Vaca. I did the film study. My Favorite Millionaire, $1. Do you ever bet thousands? Toxic gameplay. I'm not a super big gambler. The only reason I do this segment of my channel and my show is because you guys. I don't find a lot of pleasure in gambling. It's super stressful. I like doing, for entertainment purposes, the $10 bet, the $100 bet, because what that allows me to do is stay tapped into all the fights anywhere. You know what I'm saying? If I'm going to bet on a fighter and they're fighting in, the UK and I don't know much about them, that'll allow me to research them, do an analysis on them, and have a little bit more ethical approach when I'm gambling on them. And then I get to learn about new fighters. So yeah, I love the commentary shorts. Thanks, man. Yeah. Guys, when I got into this game about 1.5 years ago doing just YouTube boxing, I looked at the guys who were the top dogs in terms of subscribers, and you got a lot of goofy people, and I don't mean to hate on them, but the dude with the big eyes who has 400,000 subs, you got a couple other Americans, and all they do is talk trash about fighters. And I don't know if any of them are actually fighters. So I grew up boxing. I spar twice a week, and I train like a samurai. So when I saw that 1.5 years ago, I was like, dude, there's a point of difference for me to make to tell the story of boxing how it should be told and to grow a channel. Because if these guys are the biggest boxing channels on YouTube, what the hell? So yeah, that's my whole approach, and it motivates me to see guys who have huge followings who talk trash about fighters. That's insane. You know what I'm saying? So I come about it from a little bit more of an admirable approach. I try not to be opinionated too much. I love gambling on boxing. Mate, since I started gambling on boxing, Assad, I love it. Like I said, I put all my winnings and losses up here. And if you guys ever want to check my receipts, go to my playlist that says predictions. So I do all of my breakdowns, and they're coordinated in a playlist, so you can see all the predictions I've hit. Guys, if you're watching this, could you please like this video? I love gambling on boxing. JJ said hi. What's up? The one who talked shit about Devin Haney and then interviewed him and acted like nothing happened. Yeah, that dude. But you should have saw the trash that... So I first started covering just boxing. I was doing MMA and the UFC, and I was doing a lot of interviews. I was interviewing scientists, people who were from all sort of doing good things. I wasn't just doing fighters. But in 2023, I started just doing boxers, and the first fight I covered was the Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford fight. And I was watching Showbiz, I was watching Southpaw TV, I was watching a couple of these guys with huge followings, and they were just trashing Bud, talking fanboying out of crazy. And all it would take for any of you guys is to, not saying that you don't, but go to a boxing gym and see how reverent it is. I think it would surprise a lot of people, at least the gyms I train at. When people are sparring, the young kids are watching. Like the gym I train at down here in Sydney, it's not what you think. It's almost like church. So when I see content creators on YouTube bashing world champions and bashing boxers, I'm like, who the hell are these guys to talk that much trash? And you see the fans that they sort of attract are casuals. So over the last year and a half, just reading the comment section of any of my videos, you guys know what you're talking about. I learn more through my people who follow the channel than I do on my own. And that's what my whole goal is. The one who talks shit, bro, people were meat Ryan and Spence. They were, and I picked Bud to win that fight. And it was in my prediction, and I took a lot of heat for it. And check out Hakeem Haynes. I'm sure he's done. I'm sure there's, and that's the great thing about boxing is that there are a lot of good people out there, but some, it's filled with there's a lot of slime too. I like hearing about people who are, if Hakeem Haynes is doing the right thing, I appreciate that. Guys, I like a prop bet. I want to cover a prop bet real quick. And this is controversial, but it's just going to be a fun prop bet. It's 5-1. I think with Sam Goodman's recent pullouts of the Inoue fight, I don't think Goodman gets the Inoue fight if he doesn't have an electric performance. And I talked about this in my breakdown. I'm expecting Goodman to be on point. I think with Cesar Vaca's style, with him coming forward, with Goodman's ring experience, I think Goodman's going to stop Vaca. And that's a 5-1. So if you're feeling froggy, if your betting app allows you to take that bet, and Goodman on record, I think a 35% knockout to win ratio. So he's not a big puncher. But everything that I've seen, in Vaca's only loss, he got outboxed against Eric Ayala. He puts himself kind of in interesting positions, bad positions in the firefight. I'm expecting, I guess, a little bit of hope. $50 to win 250. If you got the money, 5-1. What's it hurt taking Goodman to win by stoppage, right? If he really wants that Inoue fight, I don't think he gets it just winning a decision, just paper cutting Vaca. He has to be electric. And, especially after we saw Inoue versus Ramon Cardenas, people, that division, is exciting. And then you got Junto at 118, Nakatani, who's a finisher. I think Goodman's going to have to start sitting on his punches, turning his punches over. And I think Vaca is a great matchup for him to do that. So if you're feeling froggy, 5-1. Check out his Showbiz a podcast. What do you think about Vaca struggling to make weight? Exactly. I talked about it in my breakdown video, guys. In the professional edited video, it's on my channel right now. I just uploaded it an hour ago. I talk about the weight miss. He does boxing predictions. When do they fight? Wednesday night, Chief. Chief Red Cloud. Wednesday night in Sydney, Australia. They fight. Only one like. Give it a quick like and subscribe. The least we can do. Appreciate you, Robert Tyler. Like this video. Inoue left side could get him KO'd. And we've seen it multiple times. I mean, we've seen Louis Neary. We saw Neary show us that vulnerability. And then when Cardenas was interviewed after the fight, he said that they were drilling that. So, and that's kind of like the exciting thing about boxing is over time, the longer a fighter has a career, you kind of see this sort of blueprint. And then it's up to the opponents or the coaching staff or the camps of the opponents to see if they can figure that blueprint out. And Cardenas was so close. He wasn't quite able to do it. Louis Neary wasn't quite able to do it. But you've seen when you have a guy like Inoue who is such a savage, who wants to get into a fucking firefight, you're gonna have holes. And I think that's what makes it even more ridiculous that you see these content creators in America saying that that Inoue was chinny because he got dropped. It's like, no, and I've been saying it ad nauseum on my channel. Getting dropped and getting back up and knocking your opponent out is not being chinny. That's called having a chin. Getting dropped and getting knocked out, that's called chinny. Inoue's not that. Not gonna lie, bro, I really thought Fulton would beat Inoue. A lot of people did. And I mean, on paper, what isn't to like about Stephen Fulton's skill set? What isn't to like about what he does and what he did to everybody up until that Inoue fight? But Inoue, guys, there's no greater equalizer than power in the ring, in his hands. And then you add the power with aggression and his willingness to trade. That's a lot to deal with for fighters. You know what I mean? Not everybody has power. So when you see that problem coming at you, and that's why it was so impressive for Cardenas to see that problem coming at him with Inoue and stayed there. But over time, staying there, and that it's like that water, you're in a pool, and the water just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and nobody's been able to swim thus far. We'll see. He's getting a little bit older, but, you know, do you listen to the boxing voice? No, guys, I got to be honest with you. I don't listen to any boxing shows. I don't listen to any boxing podcasts. All I do is watch fights and study tape, and I write. That's it. I'm a bit of a nerd. Harry Garside, neat story, two-time Olympian, of course. Harry Garside making it, you know, Olympic, two-time Olympian in Australia. He's an interesting guy, too. He's a nice guy, and he wants to make a run at the pro levels. I think he's 3-0, so does Devin Haney have a chin? Haney has a chin, 100%. I think Haney has a chin. He didn't go out cold. It's not like he got knocked unconscious. He got up every single time. Inoue doesn't crack. Almost gonna have to Inoue. Exactly. Doesn't have, dude. And that's that. That's that. I think it's in the spirit. So when I was in graduate school in Las Vegas, Nevada in 2012, I was doing this leadership course to James Arath's point about Inoue doesn't crack, almost have to die in there. So I was doing this leadership course, part of my graduate program in Vegas in 2012, and it was all about fear. So it was a high ropes course. We had to like climb telephone poles. It was, you know, getting you out of your comfort zone basically. And one of the sayings that the professor kept saying was a samurai saying from Japan called Dantatsu. And it was what the samurais would say. So if you look at the samurai hand-to-hand combat with their swords, they only had armor on their front side. Samurais don't have armor on their back. It's literally their skin and their shield. And the reason for this, they say Dantatsu, because when they're fighting, read the Book of Five Rings as well about Madasar. His name's slipping my mind. I'm talking too much. But they only go forward. So the samurai's methodology of fighting was never retreating. They never turned their back and ran. And this is why they don't have back armor. And this is how Inoue fights. It's in their spirit, man. You could see it in him. You could see it when he's in that firefight. It's exactly where he wants to be. And this is why I feel that having losses on your resume aren't bad. Look at some of my favorite fighters. Chico Corrales, Arturo Gatti, Ray Boom Boom Mancini, Evander Holyfield. These guys weren't undefeated. These guys all had losses. And, you know, watch the Chico Corrales. I've talked about the Chico Corrales versus Luis Castillo, the first fight, round number 10. Oh, my God. Greatest round. I go back and forth with Arturo Gatti and Mickey Ward, the first fight, round 9, and round number 10 of Chico versus Castillo 1, round 10. Because I always lean towards Chico's knockout of Castillo, though, because you got his corner telling him, what are you going to do now? And he listens to him. But then with Gotti and Ward, you got Emmanuel Stewart screaming, go to the body! And there comes Gotti back. Oh, if you guys haven't seen those fights, mate, it's everything what makes boxing great. Inoue fights for honor. I'm sore as hell from training, sparring, and biking 50 miles a day. Salute. Koki, animal savage. I'm about to get it in. So it's 8:45 my time. I get up at 5 a.m. I've already trained once. I'm going to run a 10K. Emmanuel Augustus, stud, the drunken master. I did a feature on him a couple years ago. He's still alive, too. And when you look at Koki, when you look at Augustus's story, man, he is I don't want to say kind of like a tale. What do they say when you know, like a story, like not a negative story, but he's a story of a boxer who didn't have promotion around him, who didn't have the right marketing and didn't have the right team around him. So he always said yes to fights. And we know in boxing, there's homers. There's fights called homers, meaning that you're bringing in an away guy just to pad the other guy's record, and no matter what, you're not going to get the victory. And this was Emmanuel Augustus's almost all of his career. Look at how many losses he has that he should have won. It was because he wasn't being promoted properly, and he didn't have the financial backing of a proper marketing and management team to protect him from those sort of matchups. So you look at his record, it's something like, you know, I don't want to guess, but even to this day, Floyd Mayweather has been on record saying one of the toughest fights was against Augustus. Awkward style. Inoue has a chin. He just uses offense as defense. He's more of I'll use my superior speed and reflex type. Zachary Scott fighter, kind of like Roy, reflex fighter. Roy was one of my favorites. Wasn't good because he was the most technically sound, but because he was the best at 100%. Captain Hook. Roy Jones' left hook. If you guys don't know about Roy Jones in his prime, Captain Hook, leaping. He would use his lead hook as a jab. Insane. He's what you would call a reflex fighter. Everything he did was explosive. Unbelievable fighter. One of the greatest of all times. Roy in his prime, one of the greatest of all times. That's without a doubt. I wonder if social media would have influenced his career for better matchmaking. You got to think. Yeah, he's 38 and 34 exactly, and a lot of those are decisions that he won, man. Some of the word people are like, oh, worst robbery in U.S. history of fights. Go look at Augustus's whole career. Also, the sad thing is when he was making his comeback, I think he was down in New Orleans. He got shot in the head. You know, this guy, and he's still alive. This guy's been through everything, man. He was a special talent, a rare talent. He's one of those guys which makes boxing special because you have boxing, you have orthodox style versus southpaw style. You know, you have your punch arsenal, jab, cross, hooks, uppercuts. But from there, you get to make your own style with it. You know, he was one of those guys who was free in there. You know, that you see Jerron Boots Ennis use that pause lead step that Augustus made famous. He would circle around the middle and he would do that exaggerative front lead step. And you see Boots do it, and Teo did it against Arnold Barboza Jr. too. That's all Emmanuel Augustus stuff right there. Hal Jones fought James Toney still blows my mind. 100%. James Toney was a motherfucker too, man. People sleep. That era had some killers. Toxic gameplays. Bud got shot in the head. Yep, that's great. He got grazed in it and then drove himself to the hospital. I love that story. Matias got shot with an AK-47. Did not know that. I did not know that. Matias has a huge fight coming up against Alberto Puello for the world title. Man, could you imagine if Matias could become a world champion again? It seemed like it was just yesterday before he fought Pero, and he had that boogeyman factor around him. Everybody was afraid of the guy, and Liam goes down there and beats him. It was It's crazy how quick boxing could change. Guys, if you haven't already, could you like this video? It's how the video gets propped up into the algorithm. Could you comment? I love all the interaction. This is what's up. This is how I learned. This is how you guys teach me as well. Also, if you haven't seen the breakdown, the prediction and analysis of the main event tomorrow night between Goodman and Vaka, that's on the channel right now. I uploaded it about an hour ago. And then Serhii Boacek fights this weekend. Can't wait for that fight. That's part of Hollywood Fights, Hollywood Fight Night. And then you got Johnny Fisher, a British, I think he's a light heavyweight. He's a fun guy, big social media following. He's fighting a rematch against, my mind is running, Johnny Fisher's fighting David Allen. And that's a rematch. So yeah, we're going to be covering a lot more fights on the channel. Matias' brother got killed by gun violence. That's why he wears that medal on his neck. Did not know that. I like Subriel Martinez. The thing about fighters like him, I like guys who, I don't want to necessarily say one-dimensional, but you know what they're going to do. Everybody knows what he's going to do, and not many people can stop him. I like guys like that. You think Kambosos is food for Hitchens? It's tough to say, man. Look, at this stage of the game, Kambosos takes a lot of shit because he hasn't been winning a lot of his fights, but he has that name and what he did against Teo. And once again, he's a story of all it takes is one. I say it on my videos all the time. What have you done for me lately? Kambosos is a guy who's been promoted masterfully. His dad, Jim, should get all the kudos in the world. And other fighters, fathers who are promoting their sons, should look at Jim Kambosos and see how he managed his career since that Teofimo Lopez fight. Filling out arenas, Marvel Stadium, Kudos Bank Arena, Devin Haney. Lomachenko goes to Perth, fills out the RAC Arena. He's going to New York City to fight Hitch. Like, amazing. Off of literally just one performance against Teofimo Lopez. And that's all his dad. And doesn't get spoken about enough. Terrible Morales, when he gets hit, goes berserk to get back. You think Kambosos is food for Hitchens? I think 140 is always shifted. 140, man, Gary Antoine Russell. You got Alberto Puello. Hitchens, it's a fun division. People are always moving. You're right. It's like an elevator. Augustus was failing marijuana tests before it was trendy. What a way to put that, James. That's excellent. Toxic. Hitchens can be a beast at 140. I'm a fan of Hitchens. When you're a boxer and you're born with the last name H-I-T, Chins, come on, dude. We're living in the Matrix. What is that? Could you imagine if he was a knockout artist? Zepeda for the upset. Rob Shakur. I love that fight. I like both guys. I've covered El Camarón on the channel for the last 2 years, and you guys know how I feel about Shakur. He's one of my favorite fighters. It's going to be tough. It's going to be interesting. Shakur's talking, saying he's going to sit there and trade with Zepeda. We're going to see if he could keep up that pace. We know with Zepeda, it's all about that pace, not a lot of pop. We know with Shakur, not a lot of pop, a lot of defense. We'll see what that looks like. It could either be really exciting or really frustrating for us fans. Hitchens looked bad against Lemos. He did, but he looked good. Hitchens fighting under the IBF rules against Camboza. We'll see that he does. Hitchens did good against Pero. Yeah, he looked. That's what I'm saying. Looked all right against the fight before Pero, but looked good against Pero. Did everything right against Pero. Was technical. Was disciplined against Pero. And Pero wasn't the same guy. He looked off. And I don't like saying fighters look off, but you can't be the same guy every single fight. You lose something, you leave something in the ring, and then when we got to talk about weight cuts and travel and Pero, they started calling it Pero Rico. He's fighting in Puerto Rico. Maybe he likes it there. Show styles make fights. Subaru killed him. We know, yep, Subaru killed a man in boxing 100%. So did Conwell. Charles Conwell did as well. If Hitchens had power, bro, oh my God, I know. And it's interesting. I wonder how much Hitchens cuts weight. Because sometimes it's a case like power comes later in a guy's career because they were cutting too much. Because Hitchens' frame, man, he looks bigger than he should weigh. Dadashev, that was it. Josh Taylor, mandatory in 2019, he was very good. It was heartbreaking to see the Dadashev fight because you hear his corner asking him if he was okay. Son, I don't want you to continue. Son, a very famous corner. My mind's slipping me, but that was tough to watch. It's never good. Yeah, and then. Would Parle be better without the IBF 10-pound limit? Right? Parle's not, like, he's not too imposing, though. I don't know. I think people were really shocked when he, stopped Montana Love and how he looked there. And then he starts Brock Jarvis. That's when I first started watching him about 2021. Because Jarvis was supposed to be Liam Pero, by the way. Liam Pero became who Brock Jarvis was supposed to be. But Parle starched him. Yeah, Buddy McGirt, man. See, I learned through you guys. My memory, because I'm reading and writing, sometimes I don't remember. Hutchins was losing the first few rounds and he took off. Yeah, when Buddy McGirt was turned into Dot and he was begging, he was basically begging him with his soul. James Butler killed Max Kellerman's brother. May he rest. That's one of those stories that when you look into it, this is why we love boxing though. It's filled with these sort of stories. Well, where I come from, guys, Youngstown, Ohio, the reason why boxing changed from 15 rounds to 12 rounds, and it didn't change it overnight, but it was because Ray Boom Boom Mancini versus Dooku Kim, they used to fight outside in Las Vegas in the desert heat on Saturday afternoon, and Dooku Kim left his home country and said, I'm either coming home a world champion or I'm coming home in a body bag. Watch that fight on YouTube. It was a fucking war, back and forth. And both guys were given as good as they were getting. I think it was the 14th round, maybe the 15th, where Kim goes to his stool and he doesn't get up. And then they take him to the hospital and then he passed away. And, Ray's been on record. It was, ruined his whole career. But Ray goes back, I think it's South Korea. And they had, he's close with Dooku Kim's family. But years after, they used that fight as a reference point to change it from 15 to 12. Never let a friend crash on your couch. Sam Kellerman, what do you think about Brian? I'm a big fan of Brian Norman Jr. He has a big fight coming up, though, man. Kudos to Norman Jr. traveling to Japan. Sasaki, I think. That's a tough fight, man. That kid could crack. Johnny, do you like Australia? From friends of Turkish Irish, moved from the Bronx to Melbourne. He met his girlfriend online. He's now a BJJ trainer, UFC gym. There's a lot of you. Yeah, so Koki, I moved here in 2013. I love Australia, man. I grew up in Youngstown, Ohio. So my first 18 years of life were in Youngstown, Ohio. And then I played baseball. I went to University of Pittsburgh. And then for a summer, lived in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, playing ball. Moved to Long Beach, California to finish my undergrad. So I lived in Long Beach, California from the time I was 23 until I was 28. And then at 28, moved to Las Vegas. And then lived in Vegas for 2 years and moved to Sydney when I was 31. My favorite thing about Sydney, Australia, and I run my own gym as well. It's a private invite-only gym. Is that where I come from in Youngstown, Northeast Ohio, and anywhere in America, Long Beach, Pittsburgh, you can never just be comfortable. And I always tell people, I stay here because of the peace of mind. And I don't know if it's hard to understand, but like in America, I don't know. I've had friends shot. I've had friends kill people before. I have friends in prison. We all do. It's dangerous. And then you come to Sydney and that whole risk of sort of, at least where I stay, there is zero risk of street fights, zero risk of danger. And so it's at 43 years old, in my opinion, it's that peace of mind why I stay here. And it's cool. I advise anyone, if you guys ever can, get a flight. They do straight shots from LA to Sydney, 15 hours, nonstop. I think they're doing it out of Houston too now. You could go nonstop. It'll blow you away. I've been everywhere. Sydney's my favorite city in the world. How about the Federico Bimmel situation? I'm from Columbus. Shout out to Youngstown. C-Bus. My dad played at Ohio. My dad went to Ohio State. My uncle went to Ohio State. I'm a diehard Buckeye fan. The focus is probably different in Australia. People focusing. Yeah, and there's just not many people. You know, the whole country, I think we have maybe 25 million people in the whole country. I'm in the Bronx. I'm sick of crime. Going to move to North Carolina. I love the Carolinas. I spent a summer in South Carolina. Go Pacers. Oh, James. How dare you drop the Go Pacers on me. Oh, dude, I was sick, dude. I'm sick right now. So I'm a diehard Cavs fan. I go back to the days of Mark Price. I'll tell you my starting five in 1990. Our starting five in Cleveland. We had Mark Price at point guard, Craig Elo at the 2. We had Larry Nance, Brad Daugherty, and Ron Harper. These were the Cavs teams. The team when Michael Jordan won his first title, he hit the shot. It was in Cleveland's arena, which was called Richfield Coliseum. Craig Elo just hit a bunny. We were up by 1 point. And that's that famous play where Jordan takes at the top of the key, crosses left, crosses Elo over, raises, and you see the whole crowd in Cleveland on their feet as it's ticking down. We're up 1, and as the ball goes to the net, the crowd collapses, and Jordan does that jump. That was against Cleveland. That was the first time I cried, and I had to hide under. I think I was 8 years old. I had to go under my kitchen table so my dad wouldn't see me cry. Yeah, I'm a diehard Cleveland fan, man. Dude, the Pacers just are. The Pacers are just out physically. We don't have a. Cleveland's problem is they were the #1 seed. We had the Defensive Player of the Year with Mobley, but we don't have an enforcer. We need a guy like Draymond Green, or we need a guy like we need like a dude who could impose his will. We don't. Our team's a bit too nice. We need an enforcer down there, like an old Rick Mahorn type or a Bill Lane Beer. The 90s, 80s basketball that would just physicality you up. And that's why Golden State has Draymond, and I hate Draymond Green, but it's that X-Factor style of play that usually a championship team needs to win titles in the NBA, especially with this style of play. I hope Cavs in 7, but I don't know, mate. That loss last night was fucking heart-wrenching. They were down like 42 at half. It was disgusting. People just disappeared. Donovan Mitchell's hurt with an ankle injury. Our bench is I don't even want to talk about it. The Cavs team was sick. I remember the team before LeBron came, Cleveland, that has, Zydrunas Ilgauskas. Yeah, that was before LeBron. But they had as a kid, like I said, Mark Price. Elo was crazy, #3. Elo was a dog, man. He could D you up too. But Mark Price was my guy. So I wore number 25 in from all grade school to high school basketball. I wore number 25 because of Price. 90% career free throw percent shooter, won a national title at Georgia Tech. He played on the same Georgia Tech team as Kenny Anderson. Those guys won a natty there with killing it. Yeah, Price was a dog, man. He wasn't that big, though. Pacers and Knicks. See, the Knicks are tough, too. I love how we're just talking basketball. Guys, I got to dip. I got to go train. I got a client down here. You guys are off the hook. Like this video. Share it. As you can tell, the last few weeks I've been doing more and more lives. I think this is a fun little modality that YouTube offers us. And Wednesday night, tomorrow night, we got some boxing. We got some money to make. Let's do it. All right, guys, be good. I'll see you tomorrow.